mid-August, high summer, and we're here at Wokefield Park in Berkshire for a 36-hole weekend event on the OBA Tour. In the field are Ballinger, Seve and Wertho providing the full complement from North House, while Burns represents East, Fish West and Sprogett makes up the numbers for Schoolhouse. A quick look at the Race to Woodford leaderboard shows that this weekend provides a great opportunity for Burns or Fish to make up some ground on tour leader Biscuit. Seve and Sprogett meanwhile will be looking to consolidate good recent performances with more points on the board. In the longest drive competition, Fish has clear daylight between himself and the chasing Biscuit, while nearest the pin continues to be a close affair. Remember though, 2 points for each competition available this weekend, so anything could happen. On the first tee, it was our featured 3-ball of Sprogett, Burns and Ballinger to get the play underway. Sprogett showed mixed feelings about his first drive of the day, while Ballinger perhaps let the grandeur of the occasion get to him. At the second, both Ballinger and Sprogett found themselves in a huge fairway bunker. Ballinger escaped first time but leaked his approach right of the green, while Sprogett perhaps caught a bit of a flyer in the bunker and was over the back in 2. A duffed third chip from Ballinger meant he had this onto the green for 4. He would eventually card a triple bogey 7. It was Sprogett who laid down the early marker though with an exquisite chip to leave him a simple par putt. On the green in 2, Burns had a long uphill attempt for birdie. He too would have to be satisfied with a par. The first par 3 of the day was a simple affair for Burns and Sprogett, although Ballinger seemed to get lost on his way to the green. This heavy-handed approach meant that Ballinger wouldn't be scoring any points here, while Burns and Sprogett walked away with consecutive pars. Through 5 holes, Sprogett had already forged himself a 3-point lead, and on the 6th Burns was forced to declare his ball unplayable after a savage bunker lie. In the 3-ball behind, Seve and Fish were tied on 8 points, 4 behind leader Springett. Unfortunately for Burns, the unplayable ball and a missed putt for a point meant that he couldn't rein in Sprogett's lead any further. By the 9th, Sprogett was swinging well, better than even he expected as this hybrid flew dead straight and long off the back of the fairway. Ballinger too had put his early woes behind him, sending this drive long and straight onto the right hand side of the fairway. Unfortunately, he'd find himself behind a tree with no direct shot to the green. Coming off the back of a nightmare hole at the 8th, a nervous Burns stepped up to take his tee shot. And there was relief for the East House man as his ball just cleared the water. This putt for a point on the 9th green for Sprogett then, but the Schoolhouse man would leave disappointed not to have capitalised from a great tee shot. Fish's trademark draw evaded him at the 10th, as he failed to turn this ball around the dogleg and was fortunate not to end up in the bunker. It was trick shot time for Sprogett after missing the green at the par 3 12th. Thankfully though, sense prevailed and he took the drop. He would take 2 putts on his way to a 6. The 3 balls caught up on the 18th tee, assessing the scores so far and preparing themselves for the longest drive. Fish had recovered from a bad start and was now finishing the round strongly. Sprogett had continued a great consistent round until the 18th, while Burns had faded away on the second half of the course. Given his form on the day, Sprogett had a reasonable shout for longest drive. However, that wasn't one of his finest, leaving Fish clear to pick up the point. Having picked up the longest drive, Fish had also hit the green in regulation and was looking for a birdie to really finish the round off in style. He made no mistakes on the way back, however, taking par to finish off a fantastic round. Seve was faced with a somewhat trickier test for his par. However, he was philosophical in defeat. It was left to Wertho then to close out the first round, and the players retired to analyse the day's play. At the halfway stage then, not even a season's best from Sprogett was enough to counter a magnificent resurgence from Fish over the back nine. The Westhouse man had a lead of 6 points. Seve had blasted past the ailing Burns over the back few holes, while it was clear that neither Wertho nor Ballinger had brought their A-game. There was heartache for Seve overnight though, as he was forced to retire from the second day with a mystery illness. This meant that Burns was promoted to the lead group for the second day's play, while the Northhouse duo of Ballinger and Wertho would make up the first group. Seve was later reported to be understandably mortified at having to miss out. Back at the first tee on day 2 then, and Ballinger wasted no time in banishing the demons from day 1.
Yes, Ballinger.
Delight for the Northhouse man there. After a full start, Wertho's second attempt off the tee was all sorts of better, finding the right hand side of the fairway. Burns too looked much more assured with driver in hand. Sprogett found the middle of the fairway, picking up where he left off yesterday. The pressure of those 4 tee shots was obviously too much for Fish, as he sent this one out to the right. Remarkably though, he would still recover and bogey the hole for 2 points. At the 5th hole, Sprogett found himself right up against the lip at the fairway bunker. His worst fears were realised as he hit the lip and bounced back into the sand. A feat he repeated at the second attempt, and he would walk away from the hole with a blob. The stylish Ballinger continued to drive well, as did his Northhouse playing partner on his way to a fantastic par at the par 5/6. Despite maintaining his lead, Fish's attempt at nearest the pin at the 12th was, well, his face says it all. Sprogett was putting together another accomplished round, however he too failed to make the green and splashed down just in front of the tee. It was Sprogett's old foe, the fairway bunker, that reared its ugly head again on the 13th. And after failing to escape with 2 attempts, Sprogett picked up for a 3rd blob of the day. But by the 18th, with Fish out of reach in the lead, and Sprogett uncatchable in second position, it was merely a case of closing out the round and taking the points. Safe in the knowledge that the victory was his, Fish could afford to be aggressive with his chip and chase the par to finish. After 1 lost ball and 1 out of bounds, it was remarkable that Burns should find himself on the green putting for points. The frustration continued though, and Burns put a disappointing weekend to bed with a 3/8 on the par 5. Fish was a little peeved not to have finished with a par. Nevertheless, the 2 points and reducing Biscuit's lead at the top of the race to Wood for leaderboard would be adequate consolation. Over the 2 rounds then, these were the final scores. Fish a comfortable victor in the end by 10 points from Schoolhouse's John Springett. And while Burns had managed to cut the Schoolhouse players' lead overnight, Sproggett simply wasn't for beating to second place. Standout scores from Fish and Sproggett on the first day would mean handicap reductions for them going forward. Wertho and Ballinger had a right ding-dong for 4th place, while it was disappointing for everybody not to see Seve capitalise on his first day's success. Confirmation of the official result there then, meaning that Fish cuts Biscuit's lead at the top of the race to Woodford to just 2 points, while Sproggett joined Seve tied for 4th on 2 points. The outstanding Roger Goldie performer of the weekend was clearly Sproggett, with -3 scored over 4 holes. Seve did well on just +1, but remember he did only play 2 holes to everybody else's 4. It was a double longest drive for Fish, and a nearest the pin each for Sproggett and Ballinger, meaning that this was how the tables looked after the weekend's play. Fish uncatchable in longest drive competition, but nearest the pin very much an open contest. It's a double feature in September as the tour visits Panshanger Golf Complex and Woolston Manor. We'll be there to bring you every exciting stroke. Join us then.